Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company, and I've got a fun project planned for you today. Now you may not know this about me, but my maiden name is Fish, and so I love all things fish. Isn't this adorable? This is so cute, really fun, easy to make. Can't wait to show you how to do it. So to make this quilt, what you're going to need is one packet of 5-inch squares, and we have used Ocean Odyssey by Island Batiks fabrics, and there are a lot of little fish on this fabric, so it makes it even cuter. You're also going to need 2 3/4 yards of a background fabric. We're going to be cutting those in 2.5-inch squares and 4.5-inch squares to make our block here. You're going to need 3/4 of a yard only for this little outer border. It's a little 4-inch border. And for our back, you're going to need 2 3/4 yards. You're going to have a lot left over, but because of the size of it, we have to get that little extra yardage in, and that's going to end up being a 43 by 80, not 80, 43 by 49. So it's a pretty good size baby quilt, just a little bit bigger and really a lot of fun. So remember, if you want to make this bigger, 1 makes a baby, 2 makes a crib, 3 makes a lap, 4 makes a twin. So it's going to get bigger a lot quicker when you add packs to that. All right, so let me show you how to do this. So we're going to take one of our squares here, and I'm just going to grab one. These are beautiful squares. You know what? I'm just going to take one right out of here. Oh, this is the hardest part, the opening. There we go. All right, let's look at some of these. These are just gorgeous colors. Oh, let's do this one. All right, so with our 5-inch square, what we're going to do is we are going to cut it in 2 pieces. And I am going to, yes, I just tossed that over the side there. I'm going to cut this in 2 times to make 4 2.5-inch squares, just like that. I'm setting one aside. One I'm going to iron in half right now. And I'm just going to press this in half so it's ready, because we're making the cathedral tail on this fish. And then these other 2 I'm going to stack, and I'm going to cut these into 1 3/4 inch squares. So we're going to line up our little ruler here on our 3/4 line, just like that on the side. And I'm just going to cut around this like this. There we go. Now these 2 little squares I'm also going to iron in half and make a sew line, because this is going to make our little fins. Right here. There we go. With little squares, it's a little harder because you don't want to burn your fingers. All right. Now we're going to need some white, and so we're going to have our little white strip here, and we're going to cut some 2.5-inch squares, and we need 3 of those for each block. And so I'm going to cut some off at the end of my strip here, and I'm going to cut 2.5. Let me straighten up my edge. The nice thing about this little ruler is that it is 2.5, so I can just line it up on the edge, and I'm going to do 1. And then 1 more set. I'll have 1 extra, but that's okay. Use it on the next group. All right, I'm going to turn these over, and I'm going to stack them up just like that. And just cut those off. That's extra. And we're going to need 3 of these for each block. 2 make the fins, and 1 makes the tail. All right. So let's do our fins first. What we're going to do is we're going to take our 1 3/4 inch squares, line them up on the top corner like this, and just sew right across that line. And we're going to do that to both of these. Let me get this one open. There we go. And when you iron a line, or you can draw the line if you want to, but when you iron a line, make sure that you iron it so that you're sewing in the valley. It's way easier to sew in the valley than on top of the mountain. So we're coming over here to the sewing machine, make sure everything's going, and we're just going to sew right on that line. Oop, my thread just broke. Sometimes that happens when you start off in the morning. Alrighty, let's try this again. All right, now let's sew right on the line, right across. And honestly, this distance is so small that by the time you've done a few of these, you may not even need to press the line. It just gets automatic where you can just sail across there. A good way to check if your line is straight is to fold your corner back and make sure it lines up on the corner. Now mine's a little bit off right there, but I'll be able to hide that in my 1/4 inch seam, so it won't be a big deal. Let's see how this one is. Oh, this one's perfect. Look at that. All right, so let's trim off this edge right here. And trim off this edge. There we go. And let's press these. Move this over here. There we go. Now those are nice and flat. We get to start assembling our fish now. This is the head of the fish, and these are the fins, and the fins are going to come like this. And then we get to put our tail in. Now the tail is going to be a cathedral, a 1/4 of a cathedral window. If you haven't seen the easy way I do the cathedral window, you'll want to check that out, because this is exactly how it works. But this is it's so easy. It's just going to be the corner. So what we're going to do now is we're going to sew this fish together. And what I've done is I've just folded this piece in half like this and set it right up here on the corner. So we're going to sew this together like a 4 patch. So I'm going to put this over here, just like this. And I'm going to put this over here. And then I'm going to sew these two together, just like this. And now I'm going to sew these two. And then we're going to sew these two together. So these two should open up. You want to check them. They should open up and be shaped like your fish. You're going to lay these on top of each other. And then we're going to sew it again. So I'm starting on this edge, and I'm going to come down here and make sure now that my seams are going different directions, that my half square triangle that is just floating in there, not half square triangle, my folded over square is just floating in there kind of loose. And make sure it's lined up on the edge. You want to catch that whole thing. And it should look like this. And we're going to press it now. Make sure our seams are going the right way. Give it a nice shot of steam. All right, now because this little square right here is loose, what we get to do is we get to fold it back and give it a real fishtail look. So it's just, we're going to fold it back and we're going to top stitch right along this edge and just give it that cool fishtail look. So I'm just going to start here right at the very edge of this little curve, and top stitch along there. There we go. And so now you have this cute little fish that has this curve. Now, as I was looking at all these, I'm just going to press it again. As I was looking at my fish blocks and putting them together, I realized that I wanted these to be set on point. I wanted them to look like a school of fish all going in the same direction. So then we're going to set our block on point by adding some corners to it, which means you're going to take your yardage and cut some 4-inch squares. And you're going to need 2 for each fish. So we're going to go side to side right here and just cut them diagonally. 1 and 2. And then we're going to add these to 2 sides at a time. So we'll do these 2 sides first. And honestly, an easy way to do this is to fold your little triangle in half and make a little crease and match that crease up. It's real easy to do when you have a 4 patch. So match that crease up with that center seam, and then you'll know you have it right in the center. So we're going to put them on 2 sides, and then we'll put them on the top and the bottom. All right, so make sure my crease is lined up with my edge. And then flip it around and put the other one on. The little crease is really helpful because these don't line up right along the edge. They're gonna make our block a little bit bigger. So now we want to press these out. We're going to set the seam and then roll it back. Alrighty. Now we're going to put them on the other sides. So again, I'm going to put a little crease right here in the middle, just with my thumbnail. And then we're going to line it up on this side and this one as well. And we'll go sew those down. And then over here, now you might want to clip off these extra little dog ears that hang out right here for less bulk. And then we're going to press this open. And now we want to square our block. You want to make sure that your blocks are the same size. So we're going to square our block to 6 1/4. So we're going to lay it on here, and I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll see that there's not a ton of squaring room. There's not a ton of stuff you come off, or that you cut off. But for some reason, these sides get a little wonky when you're doing it. And so now I'm going to lay this right on that line, and then I'm going to come over here to 6 1/4 and just trim that. See, this is really all we're trimming. So be careful when you're doing it because you don't want to cut off too much on one fell go. So right here, and then over here again, place it right on the line. And then we're coming over 6 1/4. I almost forgot the quarter. Don't do that. Alrighty, there we go. So now our little fish are 6 1/4, and we get to just set them together now. Now we have a fish on point, which means your block is sitting on the point of the block, but we can sew them together straight. So you can see on ours, we just sewed them together one after the other like this. Just so, oh, you don't want that fish going the wrong way. Well, you might. You can pretty much do anything you want, but just make such a cute quilt. So these are going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, 7 rows. That's 42 squares. Just makes a darling little quilt, and it comes together so quick. You know, I have a son who went to college in Hawaii, and I made him a quilt like this for his bed in Hawaii. These are great baby quilts, great, you know, anybody who loves the ocean, the sea life, any kind of thing, this is a great fun thing for. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the summer school quilt from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.